Good morning, one and all. It's the last day of May 2020. It's a Sunday. This is the 7th edition of the Krishna Lite show. I asked my Bobby to come in earlier today than she normally does, so that you can read some passages from this book, The Great Transcendental Adventure, concerning the installation of the Radha Gopinath deities in Sydney, Australia in May of 1971. She was a big part of that, and she has some riotous stories about the first installation of the deities and the incompetence of the then devotees at that time. So I asked her to come in. I haven't gotten a response from her. She's out and around giving tours and taking care of the llamas and all, but hopefully she'll come in. Otherwise, she'll be here by 1:30 at the very least. So it's a little early. We still got a few seconds till the show starts, but we'd like to welcome Rakesh. Hare Krishna. We were just together in a call earlier this afternoon, a Zoom call of the congregational members of Salt Lake City. That's now live on our Facebook page, Hare Krishna Temple Salt Lake City, as well as Sri Sri Radha Krishna Temple in Spanish Fork, Utah. But what we're going to do is offer our respects to our spiritual master, and then we're going to do a rap version of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sikshastakam, which are 8 verses regarding the chanting of Hare Krishna. Om Aganati Mirandasya Garangana Salakya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vande Hom Sri Guru Siyata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Scha Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Praskata Desatarya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, good morning, Rakesh, as well as Sumit and Vasudev Das have joined him and a few others who are as yet unmanifested. So we're going to start out this 7th episode of the Krishna Lite show with a rap version of the Sikshastakam. Astakam means 8, and Shiksha means instructions. Yes, I'm feeling better after a week of a UTI infection, which I don't recommend for anybody. Purification, yes, but pleasant, pain-free living, no. That's behind us, at least for the time being. So we're eager to re-engage in our 6 presentations on Facebook Live per weekly. Perhaps the most fun one where we let our hair down is this one here, the Krishna Lite Show, where we reminisce about our early days in Australia. And today's episode will include the story of the deity installation in Sydney Temple. Hopefully Bobby will come in a little early to read and reminisce about that. But while we're waiting for her, these are 8 verses written on the efficacy of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the original Bengali. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't write any books himself. His followers, the 6 Goswamis and others, wrote hundreds and hundreds of books. Lord Chaitanya did not write a book. His main legacy were these 8 verses on the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And it said that all the components of the philosophy of bhakti, or Vaishnavism, the followers of Vishnu, are contained within these 8 very, very concentrated, pithy verses from the Sikshastakam. Come in, we have Bobby here on schedule, so we'll look forward to her reading and reminiscing about the installation of the deities in Sydney, Australia in 1971. But let me now just share with you, before we do that, this personal rendition of the 8 verses instructing about the benefits of chanting Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chanting the holy names extinguishes the flames, cleanses the heart, breaks the chains, blesses the world at large with moonlight rays, discharging waves of nectar our sense has been craving since ancient days. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The holy names put all their blessings to shame. Krishna Govinda, chant it anywhere, everywhere. The mercy Shakti is fully there. The divine app to restore your mental software, zap the malware, restart your heart, tap the reservoir of loving care. No hard and fast rules, no lessons, no schools. The bliss of bhakti is rare, yet free for the taking. Only declare that your heart is aching in divine love, awakening. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Night and day by constant recitation, chant the great mantra without hesitation. Free from temptation with the sensation of feeling yourself lower than the star on the street, more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. Humility is the key to enjoy the vibration eternally. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Wealth in the millions, beautiful women, the spell of fame, worldly acclaim. Hey, even liberation, totally lame compared to the champagne, chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Govinda, son of Nanda, though you're the one, second to none, my shining sun, I'm heartbroken in the ocean of birth and death. It's not worth the commotion. Pull me out of this cruel blender, surrendered as an atom in the sweet splendor of your tender lotus feet. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare. Lord, when will eyes pour with tears of love like rain from the skies above? When will my voice choke up invoking your name? When in transcendence will my bodily hairs stand on end? Though a moment appears like 12 years or more when you're not here, I have only to proclaim your name and I'm smiling again. Even if you restrain me roughly by your embrace, pain me by hiding your face, you remain my Lord unconditionally, no matter what the difficulty, decline or gain, rain or shine. I am yours and you are mine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Just go through this in the original here real quickly. Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Babadavagni Nirvapanam Sriyam Kairavachandikapitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Bhardanam Pratiparam Purnamrita Svadanam Sarat Marshnapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahoda Nija Sarva Shakti Satapitani Matishmaranena Kalaha Tadushi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdayami Vishami Ajani Nanuragaham Trinada Pisa Nichana Tarora Pisa Hishana Mani Namanadana Kirtanya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundaram Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamai Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhavatad Bhakti Rahayuki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkara Patita Mam Vishameva Krupayatava Para Pankajastita Dala Surisha Vichintaya Nayanam Garavar Shirayadira Vadanam Gadgad Huryagira Pulaka Nichitamba Pukada Tavana Magarima Visati Yugaitam Nameshana Chakshusa Paravisayatam Sunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Govinda Virahena Me Aslishava Pararam Vinashtamama Darshanama Mahatam Karotuva Yatatatava Vididatu Lampato Matpranana Tastusha Eva Naparaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. From the top, once again, twice as fast this time. Chanting the holy names extinguishes the flames, breaks the chains, blesses the earth at large with moonlight rays, discharging waves of nectar our sense has been craving since ancient days. Holy name puts other blessings to shame. Krishna Govinda, chanted anywhere, everywhere. The mercy Shakti is fully there. Divine app to restore your mental software, zap the mile, restart your heart. No hard and fast rules, no lessons, no schools. The bliss of bhakti rare, yet free for the taking. Only declare that your heart is aching in divine love awakening. Night and day by constant recitation, chant the great mantra without hesitation, free from temptation, with the sensation of feeling yourself lower in the straw in the street, more talented than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. Humility is the key to enjoy the vibration eternally. Wealth in the millions, beautiful women, the spell of fame, worldly acclaim, even liberation, hey, totally lame compared to the champagne, chanting the holy names. Krishna Govinda, son of none other, you're the one, second to none, my shining sun. I'm heartbroken in the ocean of birth and death. It's not worth the commotion. Pull me out of this cruel blender. Surrender as an atom in the sweet splendor of your tender lotus feet. Lord, when my eyes pour with tears of love, like rain from the skies above, one more voice choke up. When in transcendence, my bodily hairs stand on end. The whole moment appears like 12 years or more when you're not here. I've only to proclaim your name and I'm smiling again. Even if you restrain me, rough in your embrace, or pain me by hiding your face, you remain my Lord, unconditional. No matter what the difficulty, decline or gain, rain or shine, I am yours and you are mine. I say Hari, you say Krishna, Hari, Hari. I say Krishna, you say Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. I say Hari, you say Hari, Hari, Hari. I say Hari, you say Rama, Hari, Hari. I say Rama, you say Rama, Rama, Rama. I say Hari, you say Hari, Hari, Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you just joined us, we started off the 7th episode of the Krishna Lite show with the Sikshastakam, the 8 verses sung by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, glorifying the benefits of chanting the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra. And now we're very excited to have Vaibhavi come in and read sections from this book by Kormadas called The Great Transcendental Adventure. And this segment, Vaibhavi is very intimately connected with, and I imagine she'll have some anecdotes for us. Take as much time as you want. This has to do with bringing of the Radha Gopinath deities from India to Australia and the installation of those deities. Now, inasmuch as the Australian devotees, headed up pretty much by Vaibhavi and myself, knew nothing really about Krishna conscious etiquette, cleanliness, what to speak of deity worship at the time, Prabhupada was appalled, to put it mildly, at our lack of knowledge. And so she's got some pretty funny stories to tell about that. But let me just tell you that this was not the first visit of the deities to Australia. And here's just a little background. It says, whereas this was to be Prabhupada's first visit to Australia, it was the second visit for Radha and Krishna. Perhaps only a handful of people at the time knew the circumstances behind this amazing fact. Many months before, while the Sydney devotees were still residing in the beachside suburb of Bondi, the temple was visited by an Indian gentleman by the name of Mr. Singh. He was happy to see Krishna consciousness established in Australia and promised to send some Radha Krishna deities to the Sydney temple when he returned to India. The devotees thanked him but did not take his offer very seriously, and the whole incident was soon forgotten. Mr. Singh, however, had meant what he said. On returning to India, he purchased a small set of deities, packed them in a crate, and sent them by boat to the Bondi temple address. By the time the crate arrived, the Sydney temple had relocated to Paddington. The devotees had left no forwarding address, and so the unclaimed crate was put into bond storage and finally shipped back to the sender's address in Bombay. Mr. Singh was understandably disappointed. Still wanting to donate the deities to ISKCON, he had offered them to Srila Prabhupada, who subsequently installed them to temporarily preside over the Kwa Madan Pandal festival and then receive worship at the Akasha Ganga apartment temple. Now, by the deity's own sweet will, Radha and Krishna were returning to Australia, this time under the careful and loving auspices of their intimate servant, Srila Prabhupada. Amazing story. And then just one other thing. Bhagavan, who was a devotee, he'd been to Australia. Then he met Prabhupada in India, got initiated. He was from Sweden originally. And then he asked Prabhupada, where would you like me to serve? So in as much as he'd been to Australia, Prabhupada said Australia. So when Prabhupada needed to take Radha and Krishna and bring them to Australia in May of 1971, he asked us to buy a ticket for Bhagavan. Not wanting to put the deities in the baggage area, the airlines allowed Bhagavan to hold the deities as his own personal luggage in his lap, and I think Bali Martin held Radha. Now, when they got to Sydney, they discovered that Bhagavan did not have an entry visa to come into Australia a second time. So he was going to be sent back with the Krishna deity back to Bombay. And he asked, can I please see a supervisor? And the immigration said, it's not going to do you any good, but yeah, you can go and see. So he went and saw the supervisor. He explained that he'd married an Australian girl in India. So the supervisor said, do you have any documents or certificates? And he did not. However, then he remembered that he had a picture in his luggage of the marriage ceremony performed personally by Prabhupada. His wife was Padmavati. So he showed this immigration official the picture of the marriage ceremony, and the immigration had noticed Prabhupada going through immigration already, comporting himself with great dignity and gravity, and he gave Bhagavan, he stamped his passport, indefinite stay, multi-entry visas. And when Bhagavan came out and showed that to the original guy on the counter, his jaw dropped open. He could not believe it. So a lot of divine happenstances as the background to Radha Gopinath coming to Sydney. So this is from May 9th, a Sunday, 1971. The deities were installed in the Paddington Temple. And there are two sections by Bobby, and I invite you to read all of this as well as all of this and just reminisce in any way that you'd like.
Did I already tell them last week about the fire?
Yeah, yeah, you told me. I think you did.
Hi. Oh, I just came in suddenly from feeding fish. It's really hot outside there. 95 degrees in Utah. So, May 1971, the 9th of May. For the residents of the Sydney Temple, Srila Prabhupada's arrival was a confused affair. An early telegram detailed Srila Prabhupada's proposed visit to Sydney via Malaysia. On arrival dates and times, only arrival dates and times needed to be confirmed. As it turned out, Srila Prabhupada had arrived in Malaysia a little later than planned, and to make things even more complicated while in Kuala Lumpur, there had been talk about a couple of devotees in Singapore wanting Srila Prabhupada to come and visit them there. This possible diversion to Singapore would have meant a later arrival date for Srila Prabhupada, and someone had sent a telegram to the Sydney Temple reading, Prabhupada not coming now. The wording of the telegram intended to mean that Prabhupada was not coming now, but later.
I think you read that last week.
Yes, I read that last week.
It should be marked May 31st. Where is it? May 31st.
Oh, May 10th. Sorry, guys.
In the
working on it.
In the margin here. Oh, here, this part, and then this part, May 31st. The two parts to say May 31st.
Okay, to resume. So Prabhupada's already in the temple, right, at this point? Prabhupada sat, hands on knees, eyes closed in concentration, and spoke into a small microphone that Bali Martin held in front of him. The crowd quietened as Srila Prabhupada described the auspicious events that were about to take place that day, as well as the installation of the deities of Lord Krishna and his eternal consort Radharani. Many devotees would be initiated into the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Some would be initiated with sacred thread, signifying they'd become Brahmins, and there would even be a wedding. More guests squeezed into the tiny temple as others crowded in the open doorway or peered curiously through the front window. Can I have a drink, please? Mm-hmm. The installation ceremony began as Srila Prabhupada carefully poured Panchamrita, which is a mixture of milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, and sugar syrup, over the small deities, Radha and Krishna, that stood before him. I need the drink. Sorry about this. Thank you.
Are you all right? Now, you have to remember this was just a small storefront. It normally accommodates 15 people, perhaps, as well as shelving and crafts and various items for sale. So we'd widely publicized this installation of the deities, and there were no less than 3 television stations on hand. In those days, they didn't have any of these small mini cams. They were huge cameras that weighed 60 or 70 pounds, and they rested upon a tripod. And there were 3 television stations in there. Plus, for getting better images, what they had was very hot lights too. So the place was crowded, it was overheated by the lights of the television cameras, and it was just absolutely packed. It's like sardines in a can, and it wasn't all that comfortable, and this we'll later read also. Once the fire sacrifice started and the room became filled with smoke, it was quite on one level an uncomfortable affair, but at the same time something that no one had ever experienced before in their lifetimes. So it says the installation ceremony began as Srila Prabhupada carefully poured Panchamrita. Panchamrita, Amrita means nectar, and Panch means 5. I believe the English word punch derives from the Sanskrit word Panchamrita. And those 5 auspicious items, note how many of them come from the cow, are milk, yogurt, ghee, all 3 of those come from the cow, and then honey, and then fruit juice concoction. So any special ceremony where the deities are bathed, which is called abhishekam, and allows the public to have a very intimate, personal experience of serving the deities, these 5 items are inevitably used in those ceremonies. So that bathing ceremony occurred for the small deities of Radha Krishna that stood near Prabhupada. And halfway through the ceremony, and there were no flowers to install the deities, we didn't have any flowers on this recently built altar. And Prabhupada said, "Where are the flowers?" So some of the girls went out to buy some flowers, and at this point they returned with a few small bunches of large red carnations, and they quickly began to thread them into garlands. After the bathing ceremony, Prabhupada, still sitting adjacent to the small fire pit and in full view of everyone, personally dressed their lordships in the simple green, red, and gold check clothes that had accompanied them from India. Prabhupada finally stood in a gold-trimmed shawl, dhoti, and wearing 2 simple pieces. Finally, Krishna, not Prabhupada, sorry, I never heard of Prabhupada being dressed like that. So, Krishna stood in a gold-trimmed shawl, dhoti, and wearing 2, and Prabhupada himself had personally dressed the deities, because, again, we didn't know how to do that. We'd never had deity worship in Australia. Most of the Australian devotees had joined locally. The only Americans were me and Bhai Bobby, and we had no prior exposure to Krishna consciousness in America, so we knew as little as anybody else. So Prabhupada had to go ahead and instruct us on how to do the deity ceremony. He had to instruct us about how to make the area clean. He had to instruct us that we needed flower garlands for the worship, and he would personally dress the deities. So finally, Krishna stood in a gold-rimmed shawl, dhoti, and wearing 2 single pieces of jewelry. Radharani wore a matching sari. The deities were placed on their simple altar, which were tiled steps leading to a platform covered with a red velvet canopy perched on silver-painted wooden poles. Srila Prabhupada named them Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. In 2012, the devotees invited me back for the 40th commemoration of the installation of the Radha Gopinath deities, and we had a wonderful weekend there in Sydney. It was organized by the author of this book, Great Transcendental Adventure, Kormadas, who appears as Philip Gordon throughout the pages of this book. And I just remember it culminated on Sunday night. Korma had hired a cruise ship for the Sydney Harbor, and Prahlad, with a wonderful kirtan band, including violin and bass guitar and all the accoutrements, he did kirtan, and there was a wonderful gourmet vegetarian buffet. So we cruised the Sydney Harbor for up to 3 hours, which is stunning. Sydney Harbor is actually stunning. The most famous piece of architecture, of course, is the Sydney Opera House, which is amazing architecture, and that was in the background. So I always have this image in my mind of Prahlad and his band, and what they were doing, they were sitting on a platform in the front of the cruise ship, facing the devotees who were seated all along the sides of the cabin. And there was a huge window just behind them, in which appeared all the different features of the Sydney Harbor, all the landscape of the Sydney Harbor, including the Opera House and all. It must have cost quite a bit, but I think Korma's reasoning was, these are special people. There were 50 or 60 of us, Prabhupada disciples. We all played a role in bringing Krishna consciousness to Australia, and we had all sacrificed our youth for Prabhupada. Not everybody was still a practicing devotee, what to speak of living in the temple, but irregardless of where they were in 2012, 40 years ago, they had offered their youth, which is the most valuable, productive part of our lives, in order to establish a beachhead of Krishna consciousness in the continent down under. So there was a feeling of specialness about each and every one of them. Every one of them just seemed to have a crown of favor on their head. Every one of them seemed to have the blessings of the Lord. And it wasn't connected with their current material circumstances. It was just a favor which was beyond the considerations of hot and cold, rich and poor, happiness and distress, healthy or unhealthy. It was kind of the eternal, loving, grateful, blessing, favoring hand of God on their inner selves. And I knew that having sacrificed their youth in the service of Prabhupada, they may have had rough waters to go through in the intervening 40 years, and may in fact still have in this incarnation and future incarnations, challenges, critics, things coming against them. But you definitely felt that there was something inside there that kept them in the hand and within the favor and under the protection of the Lord. I mean, after all, we read about Putana. When Krishna was on the planet, Kamsa deputed an evil witch named Putana to go and to induce Krishna to drink her breast milk. And on her tipple of her nipple, she'd smeared a deadly poison. So Putana transformed her form from that of an awful witch into a beautiful lady who apparently had breasts full of milk. And she talked Krishna's nurse and Krishna's mother into letting her hold Krishna and even suckle him. Her intention was that when Krishna would suckle the nipple, poison-tipped nipple, Krishna would die. Imagine her surprise when Krishna, a small child, he grabbed onto that nipple, and she couldn't, after that, pull him off, no matter how strong she was. And he started sucking, and he sucked the poison, and there was no ill effect. Krishna didn't die. He sucked the milk. Krishna didn't have any effect. And then he started sucking even more strongly, and he was sucking the very life force from within the body of Putana. And as she was struggling with this baby attached to her nipple, she reverted to her normal demoniac size. She got to be up to 12 miles tall, with sharp teeth and hair splayed in every single direction, with blazing red eyes. And in her original form, she finally gave up her life and crashed to the ground. Now, it was amazing to everybody concerned that even though Putana had only the blackest of intentions, she only appeared, she only pretended to appear before Krishna as a mother with the intention not of nourishing him, as mothers do, but of killing him. So she was like a sword within a covered sheath. Nevertheless, the soul of Putana arose and merged into the body of Krishna. Everyone was amazed. You know, that what Krishna had done was to give her every benefit of the doubt. He had overlooked 99 black-hearted motivations and qualities, and simply on the surface calculation that Krishna had approached her in the guise of a mother, he gave her liberation. Similarly, you know, we can engage in Krishna consciousness. We can be all different kinds of states of purity, higher, middle, lower. We may have motivations. There are devotees like Dhruva Maharaj who approach Krishna just for crass materialism. And there are devotees who are pregnant with knowledge who approach Krishna because of his absolute truth. But however one approaches Krishna, Krishna accepts that service because of his high-mindedness and his gratitude. Krishna doesn't take our service for granted. He doesn't expect it. We have so many options in this material world. And so when we overlook all those other options and take time to engage in Krishna consciousness, just as you all have taken an hour or so out of your schedule, any number of Facebook Live events on at this time during the pandemic, but you're here, and Krishna notes that. He notes that small endeavor, that small dedication of time and intelligence and sacrifice, and he deposits that into your eternal bank account. That balance will never be atrophied or diminished. Nehabrikamanasasi pratyabhaya shavaviyasya trayate matobhaya. Even a little advancement on Krishna consciousness saves one from great danger. So my point is that if Krishna benedicted the black-hearted Putana, then of course he's going to favor those boys and girls who gave the teens and the early 20s of their life to establishing Krishna consciousness in Utah. Krishna is never going to forget that. And no matter what they have to face in their future life or in future incarnations, Krishna is going to take special concern to bring them gradually back to home, back to Godhead. So that's what I noticed as a salient characteristic of all the devotees whom I reunited with after a 40-year hiatus there in Australia. And that spiritual blessedness, I think, will come out somewhat in this song here called When I Look Into Your Eyes, I See a Shining Soul. Let's get a little more volume. And I might throw in a verse or two from the Bhagavad Gita about the eternality of the soul. When I look into your eyes, I see a shining soul. When I look into your eyes, I see a spirit soul. See a soul that's never born, a spark that never dies. It yearns to fly back home, back to the spiritual skies. From dust you come, to dust you go was not ever spoken of the soul. This body, like a set of clothes, wears out and gets disposed. The flame of light and love gives life to the machine. Candle never snuffed, subtle, sublime, unseen. Soul has no beginning, ending there is none. Smaller than the atom, brighter than the sun. When I look into your eyes, I see a shining soul. When I look into your eyes, I see a spirit soul. See a soul that's never born, a spark that never dies. Yearns to fly back home, back to the spiritual skies. From the Bhagavad Gita. Avanasi tutan vidi yena savamidam shankamanata siddhim vedanti madhavaha. Natu avatmatjatuna sham natom neme janadiva natchayava nivabhisami saravaya mataparam. Vasamsi dirnani atavi haya navani grinati naroparani tatasirani vihani anyati samyati navani dehi. Nenam chindanti sastani nenam dadati pavaka nachenam klidyanti upo. Now society Madhutahan. The inner soul continues when the outer body ends, like flame from wood, sparks ascending, transcending dark matter, blending with the sky, invisible to the naked eye. You cannot kill nor can you die. You cannot burn nor can you fry. Soul cannot be scorched by any blaze. No water can drown the spirit. No wind can make it fade. You cannot cut another, nor can you bleed. The soul is a seed, unborn, eternal, forever free from birth, death, old age, and disease. Yet howsoever turned or tossed, the soul can never itself exhaust. Seated in the heart, beating its drum, powering everyone, brighter than the sun, the soul's superior force lives on and runs its endless course in God's unlimited universe. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As a cloud is seated on air, so spirit supports the flesh. Take away the living force, and it's just chemicals lying there, a corpse naked and bare. Not a twitch or wiggle, not a subtle wink or giggle. Can't tickle it or puzzle with a riddle. Deaf, blind, mute, dumb, numb. Can't reward it, can't ignore it, can't restore it. Deader than a doornail, stiffer than a board. Only thing to return it, burn it, bury it. Earth to earth, dust to dust, ash to ashes. Infirm body versus immortal soul. Known the difference. Conquer ignorance, make a spiritual choice. Sing out, give voice, rejoice. Make some noise for the spiritual force. I say Hari, you say Krishna. Hari, Hari. I say Krishna, you say Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. I say Hari, you say Hari. Hari, Hari. I say Hari, you say Rama. Hari, Hari. I say Rama, you say Rama. Rama, Rama. I say Hari, you say Hari. Hari, Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. From the top, twice as fast. When I look into your eyes, I see a spirit soul. When I look into your eyes, I see a shining soul. See a soul that's never born, a spark that never dies, yearns to fly back home, back to the spiritual skies. From dust you come, to dust you go, was never spoken of the soul. This body, like a set of clothes, wears out and gets disposed. A flame of light and love gives life to the machine, a candle never snuffs, subtle, sublime, unseen. For the soul there's no beginning, ending there's none, small in the atom, brighter than the sun. When I look into your eyes, I see a shining soul. When I look into your eyes, I see a spirit soul. See a soul that's never born, a spark that never dies, that yearns to fly back home, back to the spiritual skies. The inner soul continues when the outer body ends, like flame from wood, sparks ascending, transcending dark matter, blending with the sky, invisible to the naked eye. You cannot kill, nor can you die, you cannot burn, nor can you fry. Soul cannot be scorched by any blaze, no water can drown the spirit, no wind can make it fade. You cannot cut another, nor can you bleed. The soul is a seed, unborn, eternal, forever free from birth, death, old age, and disease. Yet howsoever turned or tossed, the soul can never itself exhaust. Seated in the heart, beating its drum, powering everyone, brighter than the sun, the soul's superior force continues its unlimited course in God's endless universes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. As a cloud is seated on air, so spirit supports the flesh. Take away the living force, it's just chemicals lying there, a corpse, naked and bare. Not a twitch or wiggle, not a subtle wink or giggle, can't tickle it or puzzle it with a riddle. Deaf, blind, mute, dumb, numb. Can't reward it, can't ignore it, can't restore it. Only thing to return it, burn it, bury it. Dust to dust, earth to earth, ash to ashes. Infirm body versus immortal soul. Learn the difference, conquer ignorance, make a spiritual choice. Sing out, give voice, make some noise for the spiritual force. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Here's one other reflection. Now, if you realize you're a spirit soul, then death holds no fear for you. If you're a self-realized, sober soul, you realize that death is no more significant than a changing of your garments, taking off the old garments and putting new ones. This is also reflected in a poem written by Alexander Pope a few centuries ago called Vital Spark of Heavenly Flame. We'll throw this in as a bonus song in this little set. Vital spark of heavenly flame, quit, oh quit this mortal frame. Trembling, lingering, hoping, flying. Oh, the pain, the bliss of dying. Cease fond nature, cease thy strife. Let me languish into life. Hark they whisper, angels say, sister spirit, come away. What is this absorbs me quite? Steals my senses, shuts my sight. Draws my spirit, drowns my breath. Tell me, O soul, can this be death? The world recedes, it disappears. Heaven opens on my eyes, my ears, with sound, seraphic ring. Lend your wings. I mount, I fly. O grave, where is thy victory? O death, where is thy sting? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Well, thanks for being with us. This is the 7th episode of the Krishna Lite Show. That was our second rap song. Started off with 8 verses on chanting called the Sikshastakam by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then we moved to When I Look in Your Eyes, I See a Shining Soul. Hope that gave you a better idea of how we are spirits apart from this fleshy material body. And we had counted on Bhai to come in and read about the deity of worship. But she's been outside and it's been dusty and it's about 90 degrees. So when she came in, she went into a coughing fit. So I'll have to see what I can do in her stead. And I may have a story or two of myself as well that these narrations trigger. This is May of 1971 in Sydney, Australia, Prabhupada's first visit to Australia. He brought with him the Radha Gopinath deities. They were held on their laps on the plane by Bali Martin and Bhagavan Das. So this is Sunday, May 31st, 1971. And this should be read by Bhavi, but we don't know, I think she's still dealing with her coughing. Well, I'd like to save that because it actually has to do with her initiation, so she really should read that. I'll move forward a little bit. We'll go back to Vaibhavi's part next week, but I'm going to forward here to a very interesting preaching day during Prabhupada's first visit to Australia in the morning, and I arranged all the outside engagements for Prabhupada, television, radio, rental of halls, as well as school and other church programs. So this particular day, which was Wednesday, May the 12th in 1971, I'd arranged for Prabhupada to speak in the morning to the North Sydney Boys Grammar School and in the evening to the Wayside Chapel, run by Reverend Ted Knopf. So the morning program, there were several hundred boys in the main school auditorium. And this was an elementary level. I don't think there were any boys, probably over about 12. But there were hundreds and hundreds of them there. And we'd set up a Vyasasana on the stage. And Prabhupada gave a rather technical talk, which I was surprised that he would do for boys this age. But I think what Prabhupada was gleaning or intimating was that they were fresh, they were innocent, they were open, they were like white tablets. And so Prabhupada could give them a little bit more detailed scientific versions of the philosophy. And even if they didn't grasp it intellectually, he felt that this would absorb on their interior selves. And so he talked about Chetragam Chapi Mambiri in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 5th verse, how there are 2 souls within each heart. There's the individual soul called the Atma, and that soul is aware of the pains and pleasures of that particular body. Doesn't share in the pains and pleasures of other bodies, humans, animals, birds, mammals, reptiles, aquatics. However, within accompanying the individual soul is another soul called the Paramatma, or the Supreme Soul. And that Supreme Soul is in the hearts of all living beings. Anywhere there's life, even trees, plants, what to speak of mobile, higher living beings who can audibilize, verbalize, make sounds. That soul is in the hearts of every living being. And that soul is aware of the pains and pleasures of every living being throughout the entire material and spiritual creations. So one is the individual soul, which is infinitesimal, and the other is the Paramatma, or the super soul, which is unlimitedly expansive, which is all potent and all cognizant. The Prabhupada went into this in quite detail for these young boys, and I was quite surprised. Then we had a big kirtan. So in the evening, we went to quite a different audience. Although it was called a chapel, it was really pretty secular, and not was it just secular, but it was kind of, I don't know, the Reverend Ted Knopf's kind of had allowed all kinds of radical people to attend his Sunday night meetings. It was far from a worship service. And he also allowed people to express themselves. And this was one of the best areas in Sydney where you could come and talk about Nazism or homosexualism or communism or, committed meat eating, whatever you could get up and you could rant and rave at the top of your voice. And the participants, they would shout each other down and they would argue, and it was just a circus, really. There wasn't anything to do with developing faith or love of God. So Prabhupada came, we set him up on the stage, and there was various levels. There were people up in a balcony also, and it was packed. The capacity was maybe, 200 people or so. Devotees sat on the stage with Prabhupada. So I was surprised because whereas Prabhupada had given these young boys early in the day a very sophisticated rundown of the Atma and the Paramatma and the nature of consciousness and all, he gave a very basic talk to these people. And I think he also intimated that they were just too far gone. They'd so much gone over the edge with their radical materialistic relativistic philosophies that many of them weren't going to be open and receptive to Krishna consciousness. So whereas in the morning he gave rather a long talk, spent a lot of time with the kids, he gave a short talk. And it was met with, as expected, antipathy, derision, and so on and so forth. So I'll read the account of that. Srila Prabhupada had agreed to speak that evening at the Wayside Chapel, a center started by the Reverend Ted Knopf in the red light district of King's Cross to minister to drug addicts and prostitutes. A sponsor from the chapel with an afro haircut and dressed as a hippie met Prabhupada at the temple in the evening and accompanied him to the chapel theaterette. The tiny hall consisted of a ground floor dais, slightly raised above the ground floor seats, with rows of very steep balcony seats all around. Some devotees had come early to the hall and had completely decorated the platform with flowers and topped it all with a small cushion. Prabhupada arrived accompanied by a large group of devotees who danced and swayed in kirtan procession. It was obvious from the beginning that it was not a submissive audience. Yes, it was. Webster from the Domain, he was our big rival in the Domain on Sunday afternoons. Webster was there accompanied by many of his raucous associates. During the fervent kirtan, Prabhupada sat in the small dais playing kartals and encouraging the members of the audience to chant, but most appeared unmoved. Some could not even refrain from smoking, even though it said no smoking. This was showing disrespect, obviously. After the kirtan, a devotee stood and asked if those smoking could extinguish their cigarettes. Webster turned to his companions with a sneer, "You can't smoke, but they're lighting incense." Srila Prabhupada sat patiently as the Reverend Ted Knopf gave a long, drawn-out introduction. Then Prabhupada spoke. He began by thanking the audience for giving him the opportunity to place before them his views on the Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada drew the distinction between religion and dharma. Krishna consciousness, he explained, was not a religion. Religion, especially when understood as a kind of faith, could change. Today you are Christian, tomorrow you can become Hindu. Dharma, however, meant the permanent occupation of a living being. That's something that does not change. Prabhupada described the practical benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. This chanting process, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is simple. Even a child can chant. We've got experience. When we hold meetings, unless someone is very obstinate, which referred to the present company, he joins and chants Hare Krishna mantra and dances also with ecstasy. He doesn't require to understand what is the Hare Krishna mantra, but because it is a spiritual vibration, it appeals to the spirit soul, and immediately he becomes ecstatic. That is the process. If you chant the Hare Krishna mantra, there's no expenditure, there's no loss. Just like we requested you, and you denied to do, parentheses, while our students were chanting, to join with us. What is the loss? But if you do not do, then how we can help you? We are not asking you to pay something to chant this mantra. It is free. It is open. You simply have to chant Hare Krishna, and see the result. Why don't you do that? We're not asking you any payment. You're not losing anything. Why don't you make this experiment? But it is our obstinacy. Then what can be done? If you chant, you will see the result very quickly. Within a week, you will see. That is our request. Cheto darpana marjanam. If you chant, then the dirty things which have accumulated in their heart, since a long association with this material energy, will be gradually cleansed, and you will be able to see what you are. Let me fast forward a little bit here. So then, let's see. So during question time, he says, so he finishes up, there is no loss, the gain is very great, so if you like, you can take it. Thank you very much. During question time, people didn't raise their hand and wait to be recognized, but rather shouted out their unsubmissive questions. Finally, Webster shouted cynically, "What good is this mumbo-jumbo chanting?" And Prabhupada very forcibly and almost disgustedly said to Webster, "It saves you from death." And taking advantage of the shocked silence, Prabhupada indicated for the devotees to start kirtan. A basket of Simply Wonderfuls, which is a nice milk sweet, were distributed and the program was over. Prabhupada posed for a photograph with the Reverend Ted Knops, who then escorted Prabhupada to the car. "So, what do you do here?" Prabhupada asked the Reverend. And Reverend Ted Knops said, "We help kids with drugs." In the car, Prabhupada turned to Bali Martin with wide eyes. "They give them drugs?" Taking the Reverend's comment to mean that the chapel supplied drugs to the addicts. Not surprising considering the ill behavior of some of its permanent residents. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this segment. This information actually is not available elsewhere because Korma's book itself is out of print. And so the stories that we're sharing, probably this is the only place that you can get them. So we're going to finish, normally you start with Ganesh and Shiva, but we've done that a couple of times. So in the interest of diversity, we're going to end this show with a medley of songs, first of all about Lord Shiva, and then about Parvati and Ganesh. And that'll be it for the 7th episode of the Krishna Lite show. We're on the air also several other times during the week. You can check our Facebook postings under Charu Utah. I bow to Shiva with love and respect. I invoke him with this slogan because I'm open to connect. In devotion because he's always in effect. In deep meditation with a snake around his neck. He's the husband of Parvati, Mahashakti. He rides the white bull, the vehicle Nandi. He's the father of Ganapati, Mr. Mahadev. The Ganges flows down from the crown of his head. The crescent moon rests right next to his dreads. He's a god of dead, covered in ash, with a smile on his face and his compassion is vast. His home is Mount Kailash, also known as his Himalayan home, and in the shape of a lingam, he's a rolling stone. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo Om. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo Om. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo Om. To Shiva Shankar, the yoga master, also known as Nataraj, the cosmic dancer. He's a lord of destruction, the god of disaster. If you don't invite him in, he's the party crasher. He's the old school mystic who's Krishna dualistic. He shifts my mind from a place that's materialistic to a space that's more holistic. He's a magnetic ascetic who makes my soul shine. He awakens the snake at the base of the spine. third eye wide open in yoga pose. He focuses my mind so the petals unfold, in deep concentration with breath control. He worships Lord Vishnu by chanting his names. As the Ganges flows to the sea, his bhakti drains at Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. Om Namo Shivaya. The flames get higher as the corpse gets burned on the funeral pyre. The soul never dies, so you won't expire. When it's time to die, just let go of this attire. Exhale to release selfish desire. May my soul aspire to shine brightly like Shiva Nataraj, whom I admire, dancing on a demon in a burning ring of fire. Shiva Shankar, you're said to be pure auspiciousness, also known as truth, consciousness, and bliss, creating, devastating, transformating. You saved the whole world when you swallowed the poison. Destroy bad habits, ignorance, and greed, practicing compassion, detachment, and peace. To the Lord of meditation who lives in the Himalayas, to the King of all yogis, I offer these prayers. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. Om Namo Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. High in the Himalayan peaks lived a goddess named Parvati. She was a wife of Shiva, who is the king of yogis and destroyer of demons. Now, Shiva liked to do yoga deep in the forest, far away from the world and the things it lures. But when Shiva went away, Parvati stayed home, often feeling sad and alone. One day she prayed and wished for a son that she could play with and have fun. The next moment, to her surprise, a beautiful baby lay before her eyes. Parvati could hardly believe her joy. The demigods had given her a beautiful baby boy. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. 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 Fast forward a few years, Parvati wanted to take a bath, so she asked her teenage son to keep an eye on the path. He stood at the door just like a guard, so that no one could enter into the yard. Wouldn't you know it, at that moment Shiva returned, not realizing his wife had given birth. He saw the boy and asked him to move. Not knowing his father, the boy refused. Now Shiva's all truth, conscience, and bliss, but he's crazy when he's angry, so don't get him pissed. Feeling dis and dismissed, he started a rumble, an epic struggle right there in the jungle. And out of nowhere, Shiva's trident went chop and cut the poor boy's head right off. When Parvati heard the noise outside, she came out to find that her boy had died. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. 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 The demigods quickly rushed to the scene as soon as they heard Parvati scream. Parvati turned to her husband with tears in her eyes and explained painfully how the boy was their child. When Shiva realized the size of the mess, he became upset, stressed, and depressed. That's when Lord Brahma came up with a plan. Let's find another head so the boy can live again. Shiva said, we need to take the first head that we find. We need to hurry because we're running out of time. In the jungle, they met an elephant, a wise old being who attained enlightenment. He bowed to the demigods and offered his head. They took the elephant's head back to where the teenage boy lay dead. They put the big head on the young boy's body. First it looked funny, even ungodly. But Parvati said it fit like a glove, truly a face that only a mother could love. When Shiva saw that his son was refreshed, he embraced him, called him Ganesh. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Om. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. Ganesh, so fresh, chill on his throne, surrounded by incense, fruits, and gold. With heaps of sweets piled up in his bowl, he guards the gate and protects the threshold. When you're blessed by Ganesh, you conquer birth, disease, old age, and death, because he paves the path that leads to the soul, and he's known for removing all obstacles. Now, some may say it's mythological, illogical, even philosophical, but with Ganesh, anything's possible because elephant power is unstoppable. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. He's the son of Shiva and Parvati with an elephant's head and a big fat body. He uses a snake as a rope to hold up his pants. He rides on a mouse and he loves to dance. He's the lord of creatures, possessed of divine features, attracts the minds of genuine true seekers. He's God of wisdom, beloved of children, known for protecting the homes that we live in. He writes the pages that the saviors love to chant, dripping with knowledge like nectar, so we can comprehend the way to transcend, singing Jai to Ganesha, Yogi's best friend. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. We pray to Ganesh to remove the stress and pave the way to a place that's blessed. He unties the knots that confine our thoughts. He breaks up the blocks. He destroys. He breaks up the blocks. He unlocks the door to our inner core. He picks us back up off the floor. He's the benevolent elephant, super intelligent, dedicated to Ganesh, son of Parvati and Mahesh. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Om. 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 Thank you very much. You have been present with us for the 7th weekly episode of the Krishna Lite Show. It features reminiscences from Charudas and Vaibhavi's early days in Australia and our encounters with Srila Prabhupada during his several visits between 1970 and 1975. And it also gives me an opportunity to practice some of the rap songs that I love composing and repeating. Some of those were original, and the last ones were by MC Yogi from an album called Ganesh's Fresh. But once again, we're so pleased that you took the time out with all the other options available to be with us on this Sunday morning. We invite you to come back next Sunday at 1 o'clock. We also have the Chant for Change motivational talks on Saturday nights and Sunday nights. And we have Srimad Bhagavatam classes Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mornings at 7:30 a.m. So thank you very much. And if we don't see you again, we nevertheless wish you all success and progress in your spiritual journey back to home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.